Another awesome bee you'll find pretty common down here in the southwest is the valley carpenter bee, sometimes called the Hawaiian carpenter bee, scientific name Xylocopa sonorina. These are also solitary bees, and they're generalist foragers, so they're incredibly good pollinators. Their size lets them pollinate squash and other large flowers super easily. They do sometimes fall into the pest class, though, because they nest inside old wood, which means sometimes they can burrow into the sides of houses or other structures that people don't necessarily want them. Like, they ended up in Hawaii, and they've been there a long time. Like, they were first described there in 1874. So they very well may have just, nested inside the hull of the ship or other wood and got carried over. The footage we've been watching here I gathered earlier in the summer from a bee that I've named Bina Simone. She's doing a pretty common thing called nectar robbing, where she's going to bypass the plant and just puncture into the nectar reserves and sip from there. That way she doesn't have to go in and deal with pollinating or not being able to reach the nectar reserves because she's too large. In these first couple of videos, she's still figuring out the relationship between the part where the petals fuse and where the nectar reserves actually are. Right now, even though she's found where it leads into the nectar stores, she still has to use her tongue and mandibles to slice through the calyx to reach far enough down to where the nectar actually is. Later, she actually discovers that if she squeezes the calyx, she can bring the flower closer and reach even deeper. It was really cool over the course of a couple of weeks to watch her go from stumbling and looking around the flower to try and find where the nectar was to here, just a couple of days after those first videos, she's landing on the flowers and almost immediately finding where she needs to go and getting into the nectar. From this point on, I would always know she'd visited the garden because all my datura flowers would have a little puncture hole down at the bottom. And as you can see, these bees are big. They're bumblebee size, but don't let the size fool you. They're very friendly. They don't form colonies, so they aren't aggressive, and they can accidentally be bullies to smaller bees because they're clumsy, but, who among us, right? Unlike sweat bees, their metabolism requires more nectar than pollen, so you attract them with higher nectar plants like yellow bells. Or Sacred Datura here kind of offers the best of both worlds in a high nectar, high pollen yield plant. And then leaving relatively thick pieces of untreated wood, logs, stumps, anything they can nest in. They were most active for me between about March and October.